They say that a princess once received a marvelous gift, an impossible bird that turned into flames. So if you want to know all the secrets behind this legend, stay with me till the end of the video. Hello, art lovers, and welcome to the studio. I am Esther, a full-time illustrator and fashion historian. So if you enjoy historical grounded processes and traditional techniques like gold leaves, subscribe and ring the bell. Here I share step-by-step references and my happy accidents. So today I'm bringing you the process of a really special illustration based on a traditional European and Catalan legend. My starting point for today, it's the background. If you want to follow along with me and see which techniques and processes I use, this is the right video, and by the end of it, you'll be acquainted with one of the most beautiful legends that we have in this country. As you can see, I like to begin all my illustrations going from the background to the front, so to speak. So I take care of putting I won't say detail, but at least to begin the watercolor with everything that goes in the background. Generally, if the background is half solved, everything will be okay when doing the details in the main characters. Something that you don't have to worry afterwards when you start drawing and putting color into the characters of an illustration is if you already have a good basement on the background, then you don't have to solve these kind of things afterward, being careful not to put painting on top of your character because you already have a background that it's solved and with color. So as you have seen, I have put gold leaf as a base for the cape of the princess, and it's a nice place to start because it gets like a certain amount of time to dry, and it also gives an idea of where the chromatic details are going to develop. You have to have in mind that gold leaf has its own color, which is like really cálid, so to speak, and therefore the rest of the colors in the illustration, anything you choose to put on your palette, should have in mind that you are playing with that. So even if I am playing with greens, they are specific greens done particularly to fit the gold leaf that they have behind and around. As you will be able to see, I paint on top of the gold leaf. You might be wondering which kind of materials can be used to paint on top of gold leaf, and there's several of them. You can paint with oil paintings, also with acrylics. This time I'm choosing the tune from Judea. I don't know if it's the correct wording in English, but bear with me. It's nice because with a little bit of turpentine, you can use it as if it was a watercolor, in fact. But when you need really deep, dark shadows, you can achieve them with it without taking away this special shine that the gold leaf has. Apart from that, all the work in a watercolor illustration is mainly layers and layers of colors and texture. When you're finished with the watercolor, you can add other techniques on top. This is mainly what I'm doing in this illustration. After finishing the watercolor, I am using different techniques to add all the infinite details that you're going to see, like, for example, acrylic pens or pastels on top, especially to go for the details and the edges that sometimes when you really want a really detailed watercolor, it's kind of difficult to achieve in certain areas. So you can tweak and finish your watercolor in a way that it's more precise. Also, once you have finished your main character, you can always go to the back and work it a little bit more. Also keeping in mind to put a paper on top. So you'll see that anytime I am working again on the background, you see me with a paper beneath my hand, so I don't mess up with the pastels that I have used to do the details on the princess and the bird. So, as you follow along with all the details that imply the finishing of this illustration, with the shoes and the dress, and also the background and the ground with all this grass, I was thinking that in this illustration, rather than a literal scene, I wanted to paint the feeling of this kind of a special gift. My starting point for this illustration is a widespread European motif, the marvelous beard, as they call it, sometimes golden, sometimes fiery, offered or pursued to win like a prince's favor or a king's challenge in the legends. In Catalan storytelling, you'll find versions within the traditional rondalla closely related to the European golden bird cycle, and in the East to the famous Firebird. So there isn't really a single author for this legend. These are oral narratives later written down by folklorists. So I am using this idea, the gift of a fantastic bird to a princess, as the main theme for this watercolor illustration. So rather than this literal scene, I wanted to maybe focus on this feeling of wonder that this lady is having while receiving the bird. And as you can see, the princess is dressed up in 15th century fashion with the dress and the jewelry. And many of you probably are wondering till what point it's historical to really paint a princess from the 15th century in a golden cape. Surprisingly, this could really be the case, especially when you see and you consult the original historical accounts of the 15th century. Gold material was allowed to royalty. They really did produce it, and they had clothing made out of gold thread. So in the 15th century, after the outbreak of the Black Death in the previous century, generally most of these royal people were obsessed with sort of a carpe diem fantasy, where they had to show all the riches that they had, and often this was end up on gold clothing that obviously was forbidden to anyone else, even the nobles. Did you know about these details? Let me know in the comments. Drop a like if this inspired you, and share it with someone who loves watercolor and art history. See you in the next one!